Hi, thank you all for joining us today. I'm Sarah Baumgardner with AFMA, the American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association, serving the military community for over 140 years. And today we are going to be talking about how housing insecurity is affecting military families now more than ever. So thank you all for joining. If you would, please drop in the comment box where you're joining in from. And if you have any questions as we go along and we start talking to our wonderful guest, Kimberly Gold, please drop it in the comments. We'll try and get to those. So our guest today is Kimberly Gold. She is with the Blue Star Families Wells Fargo Housing Insecurity Deploy Fellow. And Kimberly was born to a Native Korean woman who became the first Korean female Chief Warrant Officer 5 in the United States Army. Wow. And Kimberly really prides herself on learning directly from her mother, her hero, about how to turn obstacles into opportunities. She has worked alongside the military for 17 years and is an active duty Army spouse. And she comes with a personal experience of both homelessness and home ownership, which she is leveraging in her work with Blue Star Families. So Kimberly, thank you for being here today and talking about this important subject.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I'm so excited to be joining you live from Colorado Springs, Fort Carson.
Yay, that's great. So let's just dive in. What is housing insecurity, and what are some military families saying about their experience in this?
Housing insecurity can look like so many different things. Like it can be literally just you have you have less money than you have the ability to afford a home. And that's really the root of housing insecurity, right? And military families have a lot to say about housing insecurity. They are letting us know that they simply cannot afford BAH or afford homes with the BAH that's giving where they reside. They're also telling us that when they're transitioning, that the temporary lodging expenses are not enough to accommodate finding a home. We were previously given 10 days, and people are saying they're spending 14 days, 20 days. We have about 50% of our population saying that it's taking them longer than that. So these are out-of-pocket housing costs, and that's tough for families. It's really hard.
That is. And I feel like more now than ever that financial crunch is really affecting our military community, so much so that just recently the Department of Defense came out and said, okay, in 28 locations, we realize that the BAH is coming nowhere near 20% less than what it's costing to live there. So they're doing a temporary increase in BAH in 28 locations. And that's great. Right? That's a great start. But this is a theme, right? And this is something that, Blue Star Families is really bringing to light, that this is something that is happening across the country, across the world, to service members who are active duty, transitioning from service. It's affecting everybody. So, with that, and we have here kind of some quotes, right, from our military families of their experiences. One of them is saying, living in an area that the current BAH does not even come close to the cost of living, it adds a lot of financial stress for my family. The BAH is $1,000 behind the times, so they can't even cover it by $1,000. It's astronomical. So tell me, what is kind of your personal experience with housing insecurity?
Sarah, astronomical is such a good word. As we know, we are on fixed incomes as military families, and it is so hard as military spouses to find a job while you're trying to support your service member and trying to be the primary caregiver for your family most of the time. So astronomical is such a good word, because maybe $500, $1,000 could be, pretty nominal expense to others, but just it's not the case for military families. For us, we purchased a home in 2021. Actually, today marks my 1 year anniversary on closing on my home. And we ended up forcefully purchasing a home because we simply were not able to find a home with the $2,000 BAH that we were allotted. The homes that we were looking for were 2,500, and if we were trying to go to another part of town, it would make for a longer commute. So yes, we're not spending money on the actual BAH, but we're spending a lot more money in time. Time is money. We say that all the time, right? And we're spending a lot of money on gas. And as we saw earlier this year, gas prices were astronomical too. So $500 over, it forced us into a situation where we needed to purchase a home. And of course, that came with us purchasing a home at the height of the housing market being so high. And wow, just wow.
And your sentiment is resonating because there are other people kind of dropping in the chat saying the same thing. We have been in temporary housing for over a month. Agreed. We had to purchase a home in order to save money, right? And that kind of seems backwards. But for our military community, that is what they're facing.
Right.
And so, what do we think kind of is the root cause of housing insecurity? And is it leading to a bigger financial picture here, right? A bigger maybe financial situation or crisis happening in our military community?
It absolutely is. Inflation is at an all-time high and it is impacting all Americans, right? But as Americans who are military on these fixed incomes, it's impacting us in a different level. And I believe that we have this trinity of insecurity. And in this trinity, we have that financial insecurity is at the top, and then it just trickles down to food insecurity and housing insecurity. And eventually, if you have one, you're probably going to have all three at some point. You're sacrificing something for something, robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially. And you're deciding, hey, do I spend more on BAH? And then do we eat less? Like, do we really shrink our food budget to almost nothing? Or do we not pay a bill? And that's a tough decision. And military service members are already doing so much for our communities, so much for our nation, that's not a problem. That's not a question that they should have to ask themselves.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. They're already doing so much. Their jobs are more stressful than anybody else's. And to have something like a financial added stress of, like you said, a trinity, it will be a trickle down effect. You're going to have to give something up in order to cover something else. So tell me, what is Blue Star Families doing to help bring awareness to these housing insecurities in our military community?
Absolutely. Happy to tell you. And I'm so excited to be a part of Blue Star Families and to have Wells Fargo actually being my funder for this Deploy Fellowship, because at Blue Star Families, we believe that we are a lifestyle organization. And what is a lifestyle organization, you may ask? This means we are actively pursuing quality of life initiatives for our military families and veteran connected communities. And a big part of that is research. People can tell one-off stories, and that's great, and it does give us a picture, but we really need data. We need the data so that we can tell the stories of many people. We can tell the stories of tens and thousands of people who are experiencing these plights, this trinity of insecurities. So we focus so much on research. We just finished a housing pulse check where we had more than 2,000 survey respondents. And wouldn't you know it, the survey respondents are telling us exactly what these quotes are saying, that they cannot afford housing. They are sacrificing bills, and we just don't want that. So we need to continue to do this research and to get that research to the appropriate people in the Department of Defense and in legislation, so we can make these changes so that military families can just breathe a little bit easier. We already go through so much.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Blue Star Families, it's, you're listening to the community, you're taking the data, like you said, to be the voice now of thousands, then being able to share that with people that can make a difference legislatively, and then be able to partner, right, with the community and be able to bring awareness in local communities to this. So, these are all things that I was not aware of until I started learning about this and educating myself on that, this is a real problem and a real need, and that there is a solution to this, right? And so it's getting more money for that BAH, being able to keep up with living expenses, which, especially service members should not have to worry about. I thank you so much, Kimberly, for being here today, for talking about this, for bringing awareness to this. And I thank Blue Star Families. I know it's Blue Star Family Welcome Week right now. So all of those people that have PCS'd, or maybe they're still living in, temporary housing, or they're trying to figure out and navigate, do I buy a home to save money? What am I going to do? It's great to know that Blue Star Families is there. They're saying it's our welcome week, let us help. So I just thank you tremendously for your efforts.
Thank you. And thank you so much for what you do at AFMA. I, didn't know about AFMA until I joined this fellowship. And I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I'm like, oh, I wish I had known, because unfortunately, as a home buyer and as a military connected home buyer utilizing our VA loan, we didn't know there were so many resources at AFMA that could have saved us so much time, money, heartache, because the VA loan process, home buying isn't easy, period. And so thankful for organizations like AFMA who help simplify that process for our military and veteran connected families.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. It is absolutely our pleasure to be here to serve. So thank you for joining me today. I want to thank everybody out there in the audience for joining today. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of an empowerment to try and, learn more about this and how we can help in our military community. I will see everyone here in a few weeks for our next live stream. And then in the meantime, of course, we here at AFMA look forward to the next opportunity to serve you. So thank you and have a great day.